Hello, everyone. So here's the deal. I'm trying to get set up for Under the Scope. I'm running a little late. I'm excited that you are joining us. I'm your host, Kimberlon B. This is Behind the Stage at Under the Scope. And today we're talking about finding safe spaces in the African American communities. Hope to see you in. All right, welcome, everyone. It is Saturday. I am excited. This is your host, Kimberlon B, and this is the scopecast Under the Scope. And I am so glad you are taking time out of your Saturday or out of your day if you're listening to it later to join us to hear this good tea and good reads. It'll probably be more good tea today. A little bit about me. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm licensed in the state of Arizona. I've been in the field for about a decade, back when sodas was a quarter. No, I've been in the field for some time, and I love just working with people, helping people work there and meet their potentials. And because of my love for people and concern for their mental health, I developed Under the Scope this scope cast. And a scope cast is kind of between a live and a podcast, but I have it on the Zoom platform because it gives the attendees an opportunities to ask the guest questions. So I am excited about that part. So a little bit of scope keeping rules or our housekeeping rules. The information on Under the Scope is for conversational, inspirational, and educational purposes and does not substitute a higher level of care if you need a higher level of care. This is a no judgment zone. Say what you want to say, how you want to say it, as long as it's not disrespectful to our speaker or to anyone else, because we're here, we're just gathering information, right? Also, for those that's joining us for the first time, this is how it goes. I typically ask our guests questions and they get the floor. And at the end, we take them what I like to call under the scope. So in the meantime, while they're talking, if you think of a question or kudo or some comment, utilize your chat. When we get to Under the Scope, you can either utilize the chat if you would like me to ask the questions, or you can raise your hand. But we're just here, just getting information and just talking about different things. So I'm glad that everyone is here, and I'm ready to get this train moving. So I can step to the side. Just a little introduction about my special guest. So this special guest is probably new to everyone, but this has been my friend like forever. And one thing that you learn about friendships when you get older, right? Because we think our friends are people that's closest to us. I want to do a show about that one day, about friendships. But we were friends like a long time ago. If she wants to share the story, she can share it with you. And then, of course, we grew up and time got in the way, and we actually like reconnected. So when we reconnected, it was just like it was probably back then. And I mean, I'm so glad that we reconnected, and we do so much. We do serious shows, we do clubhouse meetings, we do podcasts, we do light ones, we do serious ones, and I'm just thankful again for the reconnection. So I'm glad that Erika Monique is joining us today to talk about finding safe spaces in the Black community. So without further ado, I will hand the stage over to Erika Monique, host of Natural Souls Conversations.
Thank you for that wonderful, wonderful setup and introduction. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well on this Saturday. I'm just going to tell you now, my nerves are a little shot because I've had about 4 guys working on my roof. So I'm going to try to reel this all in. So the whole time while I've had people on my roof, I was just trying to figure out how I want to get into the topic. But I do want to just give you a little bit of information about me. There's nothing spectacular about me. I am a musician by heart and by trade a little bit. I went to school initially for music, I decided that I didn't need a degree to play. So I changed my major to business, and I promptly flunked out. And so I came home, and I went to community college for about 10 years, taking a course here, there, here, there. I finally got serious, got my associate's degree. I transferred on a probationary status because, yes, my GPA was that low to University of University of Texas at San Antonio. I went there. I went into their business and entrepreneurship program, best decision I ever made. And I graduated with my BA degree. And then a couple years after that, I received my MBA and promptly hung my degrees on the wall and didn't think anything else about it. I decided that what I really like to do is I like to connect with people. I like to find ways to connect them to resources, provide platforms, and it just kind of made sense that I fell into what I'm doing now. But with all of that, I had this desire to, like I say, connect with people, but I wasn't really connecting the way I wanted to connect. I've always had people of different friends of different races, but I noticed along the way that some of my friends that didn't look like me, I realized that I had to kind of perform for them.
Hmm.
And I didn't really understand that. And what I mean by that is I had to be the clown. I couldn't have an off day. I couldn't have a bad day. I couldn't have a sad day. If I did, then it was me being an angry woman. They never said black woman to my face, but it was me being angry, me being aggressive, me being loud. So, I had learned to kind of diminish a little bit of myself to fit in that group because I wanted to be included, right? And so I would just notice as time went on, that I was diminishing more and more of myself to be included in these spaces, and I didn't like how I was. I didn't like how I was feeling. I didn't like that there were things going on in my communities, when we talk about Black people, and I couldn't share that with them, or if I did, it was always, in fact, I want to ask a question, and this is what I had to ask myself. Do you ever feel unheard, unseen? Do you feel like your words are taken for granted? Are they invalidated? Do you feel like, you just, whatever you say is not the right thing? It always pales in comparison to their struggles, right? Even though we are still going through things, right? Whenever you bring up, hey, such and such, got shot, and what do you think about this? Well, the Jewish community, they're going through this too, or this community is going through that, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. We're talking about what happened to Trayvon Martin. We're talking about what happened to Tamir Rice. We're talking about what happened to the next person, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. We can go on and on and on and on and on. Philando Castile. What about them? What about the fact that there's nobody that looks like me in leadership when we talk about church? If I'm going to a mixed church, the head pastoral staff are always white, at least in my experience. And a lot of the people that I talk to, they look like me. If they're in a mixed church, that's the way it is. You will see Black people in entertainment. It'll be worship, or it'll be the prayer team, or it'll be the children's ministry, but never in the leadership position. That's a problem. And I didn't know how to reconcile that. And it got so bad to where I ended up leaving the church that I was at. And I actually met with my pastor, who is a white man. And I told him, I said, look, I feel like I have held a grudge against you in this church, because I don't feel like this church addresses the things that I am, that's part of my community. And so what he did was he goes, well, Erika, there are two churches that deal with social issues. One is led by a white pastor, one's led by a black pastor. But I tell you, you should look at the one that is led by the white pastor because he's more in the community. Blah 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 blah. And I said, okay, and we departed. And I didn't feel like anything was resolved. Years later, I'm talking to another friend. I'm telling her what's happening or what happened in this situation. And she goes, well, yeah, because he never even validated what you said. And I thought, that's right. I'm a member of this church. Why, why don't we ever talk about issues that are representative of people that look like me? And these are things that even affect his community, or white people. And so I was just going crazy. And I thought, man, I got to find some place or somewhere where I can decompress because this is not working. I'm losing my mind. And so I went on a quest and I first found several groups, Black groups, exclusively Black groups, that dealt with Black issues, talked about Black issues. Some of them aligned with my belief system, and a few of those I held on to, and I'm still a part of those. And then others I didn't. It was too far removed from my belief system, and so I decided that I needed to not be a part of that. But it got me to thinking, how can I be a bridge, or how can I be a gap for people who feel just like me, that need to express themselves, that need to have a place to decompress, to be able to speak and talk about what's going on in our communities without being met with white fragility, because that's exactly what it is, or white guilt. I get met with that all the time, and that's really, if we want to look at what happened with the talk, that's exactly what happened there. That was white guilt, and we could see that playing out in real time. Many of us experience that on the daily. I was experiencing that in a lot of my relationships, because many of those relationships had to do with white people. And so I just had to figure out, what can I do to not only help myself and help others. And that's when I decided to create the podcast, Natural Soul Conversations. And it is an exclusively Black podcast. I only have Black people on the show. And I've told my white friends, I've told every last one of them, I said, look, I have this podcast, and this is not necessarily a disclaimer, but you're not going to be on my show. And that's just all it is to it. You can't be on my show because there are things that I need to say and people that look like me need to say. And there are some places where we cannot coexist at this moment together. And this is one of those spaces. There has to be a safe space for us. And judging from my conversations with you, so this is firsthand knowledge, there's not room for you to just listen to what I have to say. It's always met with, well, I was molested, so I know what you're going through. No, you don't know what I'm going through. Well, I was the one white person in my high school class, and all the Black people picked on me. You still don't know what we're going through. What you experienced was a reaction to the dominant society's continual pressures on Black people. That's what you experienced. That doesn't mean that was right. That just means that that's what you experienced, but it pales in comparison to what Black people continuously go through daily. And so, it's been wonderful. I've been able to have a lot of different people on the show, but we have to have that place where we can just, like I say, decompress, and it can come in a lot of different ways. I just thought about, how can we, what are some of the different ways, and I didn't even think about this, but we are having this movement to create more Black businesses. That's a Black space. That's a safe Black space, right? Or providing Black financial literacy. In fact, Hill Harper is creating it's a Black Wall Street platform specifically, to help Black people learn more about financial literacy, but also to be in a safe space, so they're not in a predatory situation. But yeah, just a lot of different things like that. Practicing your spiritual walk in a mostly or exclusively Black environment under a Black leadership. And that doesn't mean that you're anti-white. I'm not anti-white. I'm still friends with most of my white friends. Some of them have cut me off. They've unfriended me both virtually and in person. But I look at it this way: we were never friends to begin with. And I still have some white friends, and all of them know you can't be in this space with me. We can do other things together, but this is my thing, and they all understand that. And even if they didn't, it wouldn't matter. But I really just wanted to kind of have even just an open dialogue right now, because a lot of how I operate, I'm not a presenter, a natural presenter. I'm more of a conversationalist. So I really want to just have an opportunity. I don't want to jump in Kim's getting her way, but I really just wanted this to be a back and forth dialogue, so that we can kind of explore together, because there are certain things that I think that's playing a part in why we really do need to have those safe spaces, and why we cannot have them as of right now in mixed company, if that makes sense.
It does. So I got to ask you a question about that, because I remember when you talked about the topic, like finding safe spaces in the Black communities, and then some of the examples that you give. I think I talked to you before, and I've talked to a couple of other people about the safe space, because this seemed to be the word, right? I'm not trying to discount it, but everybody's talking about we need to create these safe spaces. And we talk about them. We're like, yeah, you're right. We do need these safe spaces. But it's like, what are we doing to get to these safe spaces? How do we get to these safe spaces? And my thing is, do they exist? And if not, why?
Right. Well, let me answer the second to the last question. Do they exist? I think that they can exist. Why do they exist? Because we make it a purpose for them to exist. Like my show, I'm not wavering on that. I'm not compromising on that. That is my way to ensure that it is a safe space. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to have people on the show that look like each other and have differing opinions. That's going to happen. But there is a shared experience, right? That puts us pretty much in the same field, even if we don't realize it yet. And I do want to bring up someone, Kim and I spoke about her several times when we do our little fun podcast. But I was thinking about Meghan Markle. And if you look back on her life in the US, you could say she probably moved a little differently than the average Black woman. It appeared that she existed a lot in mixed spaces. And I'm not taking anything away from her. Be you, well, whatever that is. But when she got in a situation, when she became married or got married to Harry, then things changed, and it may not have even started with the royal family. I don't know. I'm trying to give them a point. I don't know. But we do know that the media tore her up in a racial way. They were very racist towards her. And they reminded her that they saw her, even though she saw herself one way, they saw herself another way. And so now, many of us who never even paid attention to her before, like me, I never paid attention to her before, now paying attention, because they're treating this woman, they look at her and they interpret her skin as Black. And so it's going to warrant a particular type of behavior because of that. So now we have something in common, whether she realizes it or not. We have
Yes.
something in common. And so that is what this space is for. You know, like I said, we may not always agree, but those shared experiences, you know, that no other people can, you know, they don't. And it's not that we want to be exclusive in that way. Nobody wants to be discriminated against to this degree, where you feel like any little move you make is under constant scrutiny, where, you know, if you get 2 or more Black people together on the job, then, you know, they're wondering what you're doing when you're only doing what everybody else is doing. Nobody wants to be, you know, excluded or treated that way. This is just the way it is, you know, unfortunately. And so we want to be able to have a place where we can, again, my new word now is decompress, because I know I'm on edge most of the time when I'm in these safe space, non-safe spaces, when I'm in these mixed spaces. And so this gives me an opportunity when I'm able to speak with, you know, Kim and speak with other people that look like me, and we can have these conversations, and it's not met with, you know, I don't really think that, I mean, I think you're being overly sensitive. Or I think that, you know, I mean, Black people, how come Black people can't do this? I even had someone tell me, because he was doing work with a Black professional, and I use that term loosely though. The Black professional gypped him out of some work or some monies or something like that. And he had the nerve, my friend had the nerve to ask me, Erika, I don't understand, why do Black people, why aren't they more, have higher integrity when it comes to business? And first of all, why would you even think you can come to me and ask me something like that? You know, first of all. And I did ask him that. And secondly, I said, you just happened to meet someone who was unscrupulous and who was, you know, unworthy or untrustworthy. You're going to have that in every sector. Why it doesn't have to be that it's the Black person? You know, there are just as many white people, I will argue, probably even more, that are very crafty. I'll just use that word. I'll be nice and use that word. But, you know, it's this thing where they feel like they can say what they want to you. They can encroach into your space when they want to. And we have to have our own space. And if whatever we have to do, we need to make our own space. That's why it's possible, because we have to make it possible.
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. I know. I think I'm getting ready to take you under the scope faster because the chats are blowing up. But,
oh, really?
Yeah. Everybody keep posting. Get ready, because Erika seemed like she ready to dive on in. But let me share. I know. Let me share this with you. When I was in Texas and I worked at this state agency, right? Talking about creating or finding those safe spaces. I worked at a state building. I've told her, I think my daughter knows this story. And you know, there was a guy in another area, a Black guy, right? So, you know, we it's easy for us to even show the white people. It was this Black guy. And one day he passed by me and a coworker, I think another Black coworker. He kept it moving, right? The white people spoke. He didn't. And then he comes back and he tells us, oh, y'all, I'm sorry that I didn't speak and say hello. I didn't want them to think nothing. So if you see me again and I don't speak, it's because I'm with them. Brother, you can keep it moving, right? you can keep it moving. And I'm like, we can't even feel safe at work. You know, we can't feel safe at home. You know, Breonna Taylor showed us that.
Exactly.
She in the bed. And okay, so I can go on a tangent before we even go under the scope, because I even think about, they don't understand why we can't feel safe. Breonna Taylor was in the bed, sleep, right?
Exactly.
And she's having to defend her reputation. Her reputation had nothing to do with her being killed in the bed.
From the grave.
Yeah.
that she has to defend her reputation.
Yeah, now from the grave. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Having to
Mm-hmm.
defend who she was. And of course, we said the countless others. We have the t-shirts and everything else, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
know all
Mm-hmm.
the names. We can
Mm-hmm.
go on. And I liked what was that yesterday we talked, as a matter of fact,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
talking about even, with George Floyd. What does
Yes,
X, Y, and Z got to do with a knee on somebody's neck?
exactly. Exactly. Especially he was already, and I definitely don't want to, want it to turn into a George Floyd conversation, but I do want to say that he was already apprehended. He had already been restrained, and yet, you know, this cop felt the need to take his life in public, and his coworkers, his partners, they felt the need to protect him committing murder. The black people, or the people that were around, they they were so traumatized. In fact, this is part of that. So I'm sorry to jump around, but I do want to, because it comes in perfectly with what we're talking about. It's this thing called epigenetics. What epigenetics is, it's like a remapping of the DNA information. So, like how you would normally respond to a situation, a traumatic event or events or stress will happen, and it'll reroute um, the information or reinterpret the information so that you respond differently. And it is hereditary. That's what the genetics part comes in. Okay. And so these people stood around and watched this man, because he stopped being a police officer at that moment. They watched this man commit murder against another man or to another man. And they were so traumatic, both sides, that they wouldn't even step in, even if they were police officers, because they were breaking the law. They wouldn't even step in and bum rush those dudes to provide aid to Mr. Floyd, because that remapping that's happened within us, and it happens with white people too. It's a different remapping that they go through, right? But it's all of this remapping that's happening to where we can't even do anything. Or look at when we're driving, and the lights, the lights don't even have to be on. Just the car is driving behind you. And what do? You look and you start thinking, oh, okay, what I gotta do? You start checking stuff. Okay, you look at your speedometer, make sure I'm not going too fast. Okay, make sure I'm not going too slow. Okay, make sure I don't have anything out or whatever. Make sure that my phone is, easily accessible, but it doesn't look like I was texting or whatever. Because if they look at that and look like I'm texting, then that's a problem. I mean, it's insane, and it's every day, all day, with everything. So yeah, but to the man that walked by, was he an older man, Kim?
No, he was back then. I ain't giving my age away now. I'm like,
Well,
back
no,
then
but
I'm joking. He was like in
yeah.
his 30s. He wasn't an older man. He was about our age.
Okay, the only reason why I asked that, because and it could be that something happened to him, the way he experienced that, where being in a group of just 2 or 3 people, and it's what are y'all doing? Well, you get back to work. Why y'all talking when you have white people that stand around the cooler, the water cooler talk all day long, and nothing is ever said to them? That's something
Yes.
that happens. That's very real. That happens. And so I would just say he was, that was a traumatic thing. I mean, for him to do that and then to circle back, he didn't have to circle back. Why did he circle back? He was feeling a little guilt. He felt like he had to justify why he did it. I mean, that's a lot of stress. That's a lot of work, you know?
Yes, it is.
I'm just saying. But no, I definitely want to get into these.
Yes, I'll read them to you. So we
Okay.
actually going under the scope right now. I'm
Sure.
excited. So
I am too.
I'm going down. All right. First one is from Kayla. I think it was something you said earlier, and I know she said it's so true. I'm tired. I'm so tired of the microaggressions.
Yes.
We really do need a safe space to just be.
Yes, yes. Because
Microaggressions. Oh,
mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
because there is no safe space. Name me one place that you would think that it would be in church, but if it's a, I would say if it's a church where the leadership is, the bulk of the leadership is white, that I'll give you an example. This is something that just happened. So this was during Black History Month, and it was a church in Dallas, and I guess it was somebody who was it was somebody who died, who got killed. It's so many of them. I don't even remember the name. It could have been George Floyd. They were still talking. I don't know, but it was somebody who was murdered senselessly, a senseless murder. And the pastor's daughter went on live and said, I don't know why we have to keep talking about these things. I mean, we're devoting a whole month to Black history, and we even had the black some of the black leaders, which was the lower level leaders. They did like a round table, and I don't understand when 97% of our congregants are white. I don't understand, and the Black people are just milking this. She said this on live, and she felt comfortable saying it. We're not safe even in church. Now, that's one. First of all, we shouldn't even, it shouldn't even be a need for Black History Month because we are all year long. But they feel so threatened, and this is not no white bashing thing. I'm just speaking the truth. They feel so threatened by that 1 month, or when we decide to talk about anything that's happening in the community, that's, oh, we're milking the system, we're going overboard, or so where is there a safe space for Black people? There is, and like you said, not even in your house, not even in your bed.
Mm-mm.
Not even in your communities, really, because some communities are heavily policed, and that's a whole nother situation, a whole nother issue. So
Yes.
where are we safe? So we have to be very intentional and create spaces and not be apologetic. No, that you cannot be in this space. It don't mean that I don't love you as a child of God. It means that you cannot be in this space. Period.
Right. Right. That led us to the next question from Choice about how do you find those safe spaces? And I think you touched on it, but did you want to
Mhm.
add anything?
Well, I would say for me, it just makes sense to find those things that speaks to you. For me, I'm a creative person, so I initially looked for creative things that was Afrocentric or exclusively Black. And then the other love that I have is really talking with people and just being in fellowship with people. So then I found peer-to-peer groups like your meetup groups, your Clubhouse. They have a lot of groups that are, and now you still have white people that slide in there, but they don't say nothing. Uh, they don't say nothing. There are several shows that I follow. It's a lot easier today to find virtual groups to be part of, mostly because of COVID. But they're popping up everywhere because more Black people see the need. They desire the need for that safe space. So they're everywhere. We just have to be diligent to find the ones that fit with our, I guess, our personality and who we are and how we express ourselves.
Yes. Stacy said that she thinks safe spaces are out there, but
Mhm.
she believes that they are not widely or openly shared, which has to
Mhm.
do with trust, possible
Mhm.
infiltration of skin
Mhm.
folk that are not kinfolk.
Yes, you gotta have that. And that, I'll be honest with you, Stacey. Um, I had the idea to start Natural Soul Conversations for about 2 years. And I knew that I wanted it to be exclusively for Black people, but that was my concern. But what about your infiltrators? What about your white Black folks, because that's what they are, you know. What about them? And this is the thing. It's like with anything. For me, since it's my group, I set the parameters. And when I see that somebody comes in that it is very apparent that they have other motives, then it's my responsibility to get them out. Period. To keep that safe and as pure as you can, and that's all you can do, because you don't know until it happens. You don't know, you know. I mean, I don't want to get into preventing any Black person from coming into my space until I see that I'm gonna be very honest with you. A Candace Owens cannot come into my space. She's completely off the list. But other than that, I have to know your character. And so as a leader of a group, that's, you would just have to be true to yourself and say, hey, forget about numbers. It's about the integrity of the group. And if this person is causing a problem that is, counterproductive, going against, our agenda, then you got to go, period. And as far as going into a group, because I've been in several groups where it appeared to be exclusively Black or Black focused, and then it became everything but that. And so I removed myself. So it's all about being just being truthful to what you are trying to get out of the situation, or what you are trying to provide for others in the situation.
I like that. Kayla said we have to create safe spaces, but that means not being, I think you just said it, not being accepting of everything and everyone. We have to be exclusive. Our community is not exclusive enough, and we have to get to the root of why. Why is it that we do this Black this, we're doing Black that? Like we said, we're working on our own, right?
Right.
But then it's always, well, can we expand it to people of color? And it's like, can we just focus on us, please?
Right. Let me give you an example. And this is one that this is currently happening. So I met up with there was a guy that I know from around the way, and his wife has a group that is a mixed group. I didn't know it at the time, but it's a mixed group. And I sat in on one of her Zoom meetings, and I participated, and I texted her. I was like, "Hey, I would love you to come on the show. I think what you're talking about is wonderful, and I want to be able to spread that information to the communities." And so, she was like, "Oh yeah, we're definitely going to connect." And then I realized that part of her group is somebody who is non-melanated. And so, I said, okay, now this is where the rubber meets the road. What are you gonna do? And this is what I'm gonna do. If she contacts me, because I'm not gonna chase her. I've already put the invitation out there. If and when she contacts me, I will tell her I do want to interview you from your perspective. However, this particular show in this space is exclusive, and and that means that I don't open this space to other people. And that's just the way that is. It's not, because I know from experience, as soon as you start bringing other people in, just like Kim said, then it is people of color, then it's the feminist issues, then it's every other issue, and those things are fine on their own. They don't have to come in and take up this space. They have a space. So for me, it's just you always have to be on guard, because there are going to be those that want to come in and alter the course of the group. And you just have to be strong and say, hey, this is what this is. I understand that there are other needs out there, but this ain't it. And that's just the bottom line. That's the only way that we can, because we've never done that. We have always opened the doors and extended, and we have to, I can't, I'm sorry, I don't know who said it, but we have to be selective in that. And we have to start saying no, and we have to start drawing those boundaries and sticking to those boundaries, period.
Yes. All right. So I'm gonna go through some more of the chat, and for the sake of time, I'll probably go through some, and I'll be at a question soon for you.
Sure.
Let me know if you need me to stop if you want to say something. So I know Stacy has said, I believe we're not being exclusive because that is almost seen as if we are excluding others like we've been, right? And I know Choice had mentioned that some mixed race people do not identify as Black, even though they have 50% Black in their blood. They shun that side of their family. And when it's a problem, then reality really kicks in. And then Stacy agreed with you. She said, I've been saying we need to decompress too since last year.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
And so I know Kayla had said that that's why safe spaces will continue to cease to exist. We empathize with the very same people that want us dead.
Yeah, I would say this, Kayla. I stay in a lot of conversations, even in. I'll just be honest with you. I have some very definite beliefs about who we are as a people. Uh, I don't get into all of the hotep stuff only because for other reasons. I don't get into it. However, I do go into their spaces on time at times because I feel like I have to know what they're thinking and kind of how they're moving. Okay. And because of that, because you have a lot of people out there um, that are like me, we can't afford to have everything mixed because it's never mixed. It's always other people's agendas. We can't afford it anymore. And I think with like I look back, in our history, and I don't know if this is true of you, Kim, but for me, growing up, I always had this perception of, yeah, there's still tinges of racism, but for the most part, it's dying out, and when those people die out, it'll be gone. And I labored under that misconception for years. And
Yes.
it really was, I would say, maybe into the 2000s, really, when I started to wake up and say, wait a minute, it never went away. They continue to train. We see that now because these ideals, they are infiltrated in every sector of our societies, in the police departments, the fire departments, the hospitals, the attorneys, the judges, in every sector. In every sector. That means, and they're about our age, Kim. So that means they've been trained. So it never went away. We just didn't know or chose not to know what was going on. So now that we know, I think that there is a fire that has been lit on the people that are our age. And then you have this younger group that they just don't care. And they are very radical, and they are making sure that they have these spaces. They are making sure that they are building those Black businesses. They are very fearless. They're making sure that that you understand not only about how finances operate, but even getting into cryptocurrency, because that is the wave of the future of the now, really. They are making these moves, and we should be smart enough to let them do what they're doing and follow what they're doing, because they are very fearless in this movement. We are waking up. They are fearless.
Yes.
And so I'm just saying that I know it looks like, it's not ever, we're never going to be exclusive. We're always going to do those things that we've done in the past. But I'm telling you, I'm in a lot of conversations and I don't see that. It's not what I see.
So
Or
you
hear.
think we're going to get, we got some
Oh,
change
yeah.
agents
Oh, yeah.
coming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they're already here. They're not coming. They're here.
They're here. Yes. All
Yeah.
right. So going through the chat. Well, you got this chat blowing up. See, you
Oh,
nervous
Lord.
for nothing. So Choice has said, as soon as Black people gather, it's a problem for us. And Kayla agreed. And Kayla also said Black unity is a threat. And that's true. And someone you know very well, Katina said.
Oh, that's my sister.
Yeah. Hi, Katina. So it says Erika is absolutely right about our spaces. We have become so assimilated that we have lost the concept of tapping into our root. Historically, we have been people that utilize non-mixed spaces, with the most common being the salon. The concept of the salon is part of our culture. It was a gathering for us to have a safe place to commune and discuss ideas in Blackness. And then she said, note, the concept of salon extends beyond beauty salon, and many Blacks would host these salons or gatherings in their homes, especially during the civil rights era.
Yes. Yeah, Katina will write you a book. But it's absolutely correct. And I think that we are getting back to that, because it's not, it is funny because I'll look and see all the little podcasts that are popping up. And I'm telling you, there's so many that are popping up that are very Afrocentric or Black exclusive. And, I really do have a lot of hope for where we're going as a people.
Nice. So Choice brought up a good point. I'm not going to expound on it too much, but it says you have some Black church leaders acting like they're not Black.
Right.
And that's why she likes Under the Scope, because we keep it real. Plug
That's
in.
right.
Thanks, Joyce.
Yeah, right. No, she's absolutely right. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, if you could elaborate, because there's some of us that's not for us, that's speaking against us.
Absolutely. And that's when we have to, I'm not going to use that C word because, some people, they take our words and then they jack them all up. So I'm just going to say, when we find infiltrators, then we set them to the side. We set them down. How about that? We set them down, and they are not allowed to come into our spaces. And that means that it could be the space in our mind, in our ears and hearts. They have no access. We don't go to those churches. There have been a lot of places that I won't go into because I know that they are not for Black people. They are for other people and not us first. And I'm just of the mindset it has to be us first. I'm not against white people. I'm just pro-Black.
Right.
Period.
Say that.
Pro-Black.
Right.
First. Black first.
Yes. Because I know that, some people was probably, I'm about to get in trouble a little bit. Back when Black Lives Matter was, huge, it's still huge, but you know what I mean? When it was making its presence, there were some Black people that were saying that all lives matter, right? And no one's saying that all lives does not matter, right?
Right.
And but if I'm saying that Black Lives Matter, I'm saying that Black lives matter. I'm not discounting nobody else. I'm not trying to exclude nobody else. And I'm not talking about unity. I'm just saying, can we pull up to the table? Do you not understand? Everybody else is at the table. Can we pull up? That's what Black Lives Matter is.
So I got a quick theory on that. They know that, but that's their way of trying to keep us in our place. And I'm going to be very intentional in saying that, because we can give and we have given all kinds of examples. Well, when we talk about breast cancer, that doesn't mean that we're discounting ovarian cancer. We're saying we are putting the focus right now on breast cancer. They know. They absolutely understand what they're doing. It is their way to keep us in our place.
Okay.
I mean, it's really, Kim, it took me a lot to get to that point to say that, because remember, that was kind of, not that I love people and I wanted to be inclusive of everyone. But no, no, not when I have to diminish who I am. No,
Mm.
then we can't be, I can't be inclusive. I've got to be exclusive to the point to where I'm recognizing me and our struggles first. And if you don't get it, then you just don't get it. But I know that it's more like you don't want to get it. It's not that you can't understand, because now we're going on what, 3, 4, 5 years, and you still don't get it. You still don't understand. No,
Right.
you choose not to get it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a
Yeah,
choice. Yeah, it's a choice.
yeah.
Here's a
Yeah.
question for you.
Okay.
It says, can you expound on your perspective about the Markle situation? Why do you think that the Black community embraces Meghan, even though the perception is that she did not publicly appear to identify as Black until she got connected to the royal family?
Well, there are two things. There are two positions on that. One, because we are in, and I think by nature we are a communal people. We are an inclusive people, and we do embrace um, those who have been hurt, or who are left out. We're not individualistic, or we're not into individualism by nature. That has been bred into us. We are a communal or a collective people. Black people are. Secondly, because we recognize what's truly going on, and it's not. Honestly, it could be anybody. It could have been. This is a stretch, but it could have been Oprah Winfrey. Now that's a tall order for me, because to me, she's another one of those Candace Owens. But I'm just saying
Mm.
it could have been. That's my perception. My perception. But it could. It wasn't so much Meghan Markle. We saw another person who is perceived to be Black being mistreated because of her skin, or her race, and we. That's what we were. Uh, what caught our attention, is not necessarily because of her, but we perceive somebody who they perceive to be Black being mistreated. And we really, people say this, but I'm finding this to be true. We really are a loving people. We don't like to see people hurt. That's why, we have, uh, over the decades, been inclusive to the white. We had to be. That part even has been, to a certain extent, bred into us. We had to raise their kids. We had to wet nurse their kids. We had to take care of them. We had to. So of course we would bring them in. Of course we would be inclusive. But they bred that for their benefit. But we are naturally that. We are naturally loving people. So when we see somebody hurt, or we perceive them to be hurt, then we're going to respond to that. I believe that we are totally different. And that's a whole nother conversation, but we're totally different than our white counterparts. We can't sit up and watch somebody swing from a tree and that not affect us. But we know for a fact that's what they did. I'm just going to leave it there.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna go back up to the questions. I know Choice said like Meghan came on the scene when she started dating Harry. Other than that, she would not be a discussion.
Right, right. I didn't know who she was.
I
I
didn't
didn't know
know
who
who
she was.
she was either. We talked about this. We talked about this on our podcast, just FYI,
Yes, we
everyone.
did.
But I think we made her into that black princess. Not me, my bad. I think
Mhm.
some black people made her into the black princess, right? We didn't even know how she identified, but we put her there.
Yeah, I think the Black people who want to be inclusive and be part of that whole role thing, yeah, they made her that. I
Mm.
think other Black people um, really just did not care one way or another. The only time she ever even came into our consciousness, or at least into mine, is when they brought the little baby into it. What is his color gonna be? Is he gonna be dark skinned or whatever? And now I'm like, I hope his skin changed colors and he become black as tar and nappy headed. I hope, and I hope that the baby girl is a deep, dark, rich black color, mahogany. I hope.
Okay. Sorry.
I know I
I'm
should
gonna
have said
go back. I'm gonna go back to the chat, y'all.
that.
I know Stacey had said a little earlier about white black folks keep them out. That's so true. Kayla said Harriet understood this whole concept that we're talking about today, creating these safe spaces very well. She said, "Are we willing to take the Harriet approach, though, if they want to go back?"
Hey. Some people are. I like to. I'm more strategic, and I like to mentally do things. But we got some people that are very much. They studied in the school of Harriet, so yeah, you got to have a little bit of both. You got to have the thinkers and you got to have the doers, and there are some doers out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You want to go back? That's what she's saying. You want to go back?
You're right. All right.
All right, let's keep moving. Yeah. Who else want to go back? All right. Katina had said it doesn't go away because it's systemic and society was engineered to work this way. And this country is predicated on race. Police simply help maintain the racist codes and laws.
Absolutely.
Stacey say that again. These young people are not about their foolishness. No, they not. And you said something else, Stacey, because she said she learned last year she will not shrink herself to make others feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. I had to learn that the hard way. And it is now my new motto. Oh, y'all hear that? They're back on the roof.
They back on the roof, everyone.
Yeah.
All right, so we almost at the end. So Stacey wanted to.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, the question is, Stacey said, Oprah, why would you put Oprah in the class with Owen? She said she think Oprah had a plan, infiltrate, draw white women in, win them over, make money. And once she got on top, she could lift black people up sufficiently without worrying about the backlash.
I have not seen enough information to support that. I hope you're right, but I don't think so. No, I think Oprah is completely bought. It's how she moves, and it's like the whole thing. Like how they. I have a problem when you are against black men. And she has shown herself to be against black men too many times for me to excuse it. And so then I have a problem. I have to wonder what your real agenda is. And so I can't allow her a seat at my table.
Somebody raised their hand. Oh, Stacey raised her hand. All right. So Stacey.
Does that mean I can unmute?
Yeah, you can unmute.
Okay, so Erika, I definitely appreciate everything that you're saying, and I respect everything that you said. You have made me laugh, almost cry, and think even harder. But
yeah, thank you.
The Oprah thing, when you just now mentioned that about the men, the black men specifically, I'm wondering if it has anything to do with her history with rape and abuse, because I think it might have something, and I'm not saying that she's not bought, and I'm not her spokesperson, so nobody's paying me to do this, but I just wonder, because I'm a deep feeler, so there are things I feel from her that I don't get that part of the bought soul, but that doesn't mean it's not true. But I think it's the factors going on as well. That's all I wanted to say. And I respect everything that you've said tonight. Today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And Stacey, just real quick, you know what? I didn't take that into consideration. And that is something to consider because it does play a part in how you, especially if you have not received healing in that area. So you've given me something to think about. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. And thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. Anyone else? I think I got through. Stacey was laughing at what you said about the baby.
I was serious about that.
And Choice said, let's go see Harriet. That's right, Choice. Yes. So I think unless anyone have anything else to share, let me see. Anyone? All right. So Erika, tell us where we can find you on social media.
So I just found out today that the podcast has been accepted on Pandora. So now we're on Pandora, Unheard, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Castbox. We are everywhere. All you have to do is go to any of those major platforms and type in Natural Soul Conversations and we'll pop up. And please check out the podcast and subscribe. And if you listen through Apple, make sure that you make sure you give the podcast a 5-star rating. If you don't even give me a rating now. If it ain't a 5, don't even give it. So yeah, but thank you guys. Thank you, Kim, for having me. This has been awesome. I wish I was a little more focused. They're getting ready to start again. My nerves. Woo.
That's all right. That's all right. But thank you so much for coming to Under the Scope to give us that platform about finding those safe spaces for our Black community. And I hope everyone got something from this discussion. I mean, everything is great. Stacey said, congratulations on the podcast, Erika.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you so much.
So, and this has been a blast, everyone. On Under the Scope, we'll be back here next Saturday with another special guest. Thank you all for coming, because without you, there would be no me. And I love each and every one of you all. See you next time on Under the Scope, where good tea and reads are welcome. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Katina.
I know. Thank you, Katina.